Florida is really ground zero, in my view, right now on the guns on campus issue. It was earlier this year, but it really is important now for us to work and defeat this bill. If we go back in time to the early 2000s, Utah became the first state that forced, and I want to stress forced, public colleges to allow guns on campus. The university system fought very vigorously against the legislation. It took it to the state Supreme Court, but in 2004, guns were, concealed weapons were allowed on college campuses, public campuses in Utah. And then we had the shootings at Virginia Tech and Northern Illinois University, 2007, 2008. We started to see the gun lobby introduce bills in a number of states across the country. Between the early 2000s and now, we've seen bills to force guns on campus be introduced in 40 states. In this country, 40 states. These are not isolated things. This is a well-constructed campaign by the gun lobby to change laws and either say colleges have the ability to regulate weapons, and when they have that ability to regulate weapons, they choose not to put them on campuses, except for Liberty University in Virginia and Old Dominion. Everybody else has policies. If they don't have that ability to regulate, there's already a statute that says that guns are forbidden. So those are the two things. So over the years, we've seen a disturbing trend happening, in my view. A disturbing trend where, for the most part, one state a year now, the laws have been changed to force guns on campus. We've had, right now, depending on how you count it, 9 states allow guns on campus. And a few other states allow them in parking lots. But in terms of really legislation that was passed and signed, nine states. So there's definitely a disturbing trend. The gun lobby wanted Florida this year, and because of your work, they were defeated. But we know, we knew then, and we know now, obviously, that legislation was going to come back. So we have to redouble our efforts in this fight. It's crucial. Now, we've had experience in the past. This is where the schools are very important here. In places like Arizona. I've worked in Arizona, I've worked in Louisiana, I've worked in Montana. These are difficult states. Guns on campus have been defeated. And in Arizona, it's been defeated multiple times. And part of the reason, and actually I want to add Alaska to that list, part of the reason is the terrific advocacy of the schools. The colleges played a big role. Board of Regents, presidents, law enforcement, others, faculty, students, in helping to defeat. So we need to have that same type of effort here in Florida, which we had earlier this year. We need to redouble those efforts. We need to have all of the colleges on board fighting hard. And I can appreciate the fact that because of state funding, that it's a very difficult position to be in. Legislators will say, maybe they will withhold something or threaten to withhold funding if you're vocal, on this issue. So it's a difficult choice to make, but it's something that we can win, and we've won in a number of states. Even though there is this disturbing trend, and when I say we, I want to be clear. It's the collective we. It's not the campaign to keep guns off campus. It's the campaign to keep guns off campus. It's the League of Women Voters, it's students, it's faculty, it's law enforcement. It's everyone. That's the only way we win on this. And we do have the numbers. There's all kinds of polling that talks about strong support for strong gun laws, and I believe that those things exist. But the latent support out there for strong gun laws needs to be turned into activism. We need people to not just say, yeah, I support background checks or I oppose guns on campus. You need to do more than that. I mean, and you are the choir here, obviously. You're here, but your friends, your colleagues, they need to be converted also and say, okay, we support this. Why are we opposed to guns on campus? Is it because we don't think anyone should have a gun? My rationale is that we want to not increase risk on college campuses. I mean, that's what it's about. I mean, there are so many factors, and we're going to drill down to these later today. But college-age students, they are at a very high risk for suicide. Suicide's their second leading cause of death. Why are we going to introduce weapons into this scenario? Over 57% of gun deaths in this country are suicides. So That's a risk factor we need to reduce as much as possible. We've got, obviously, presence of alcohol and drugs on campus. Do we want to add weapons to that mix? I don't think that we do. I think the law enforcement that I've spoke to, and they'll speak more to this later, but they don't want guns on campus. If they're responding to incidents, they're not going to know who the good guy is, who's the bad guy. Another point is people that have concealed weapons that are not law enforcement, they typically do not have the type of tactical training that that law enforcement has. So we're going to be allowing people 21 and over to carry weapons on campus. How are they going to, we're expecting them to respond to situations. Again, we're increasing risk. So those are just some of the quick reasons why, we oppose. Now, the other piece that you're starting to hear more about, and this is where we need a lot of help from female advocates, is sexual assault. Now, the gun lobby first talked about, well, you need to have a gun on campus because there's high crime. People need to protect themselves. The facts don't bear that out. I mean, on-campus crime is much, much, much lower than off-campus crime, and we've been putting out short studies about it. So that is gone. The second piece is that people need to be armed to stop a Virginia textile shooting. And again, we talked a little bit about that. That maybe someone could take somebody out, but there definitely would be collateral damage for sure. So I would personally rather have trained law enforcement responding to incidents on campus than people who are just carrying weapons. The third piece, and this is where we have a big struggle, but I think we can win, is where we need female validators, is the area of sexual assault. Gun lobby is saying that women need to be protected against sexual assault and rape on campus. Those incidents definitely happen. They're probably underreported, for sure, around this country. But the advocates that I talk to say that arming women is not the answer to sexual assault. I have 2 young daughters. These are issues that I'm very concerned about. But I believe that we should be teaching our young boys to respect women. That, I think, would be more effective than arming women out to the back. So that's something that So again, this is, Marion Hammer, is trying to spin it back on us and saying that, we're starting a war movement because we're not letting women be protected. And, the fact is that the vast majority of women that are attacked, they're attacked by people they know. So if we start arming more people, we're going to be arming the perpetrators too. So that's just something, to keep in mind. So we definitely need help in that arena. So a number of states, as I said, now allow, 9 states allow, but they allow it in various ways. So if you hear, 9 states allow guns on campus, well, let's drill down. Utah is a pure example. You can carry your guns just about anywhere you want in Utah. But then you have a state like Arkansas, which is a faculty carry state. But the great thing about Arkansas is that the schools can opt out. They can vote every year to say, we don't want our faculty to carry. And the Arkansas schools, to their credit, every single one of them for 2 years in a row, they have opted out. So even though Arkansas is part of that 9, you're not allowed to carry in Arkansas. Another example is Wisconsin. And I wanted to just talk a little bit about Wisconsin, because Wisconsin, in 2011, legislation was signed, and it affected the private colleges also. So if there are any folks with private colleges here today, or can hear me at some point, we need you in this battle too, because it could happen in Florida where private colleges are impacted. Thank you. In Wisconsin, though, schools can post signs and limit where people can carry concealed weapons, and every single school has done that. So effectively, you can only carry in public areas outside of Wisconsin, which is great. The last state, and in closing, is Texas. Texas is the state where we fought since 2009 to oppose guns on campus. We lost this year. It was a difficult fight. It went right down to the wire. But the good news is that the 4-year colleges have the ability, as well as the 2-year colleges, to limit where people can carry. And this is, this could be a fallback for us, but it's not an area that, it's too early for us to talk about at this point. But in Texas, the schools can limit where they carry. Hopefully the Board of Regents, which are governor appointees, will agree with the school's proposals. But the proof will be in the pudding. We won't know, what happens until later next year on that front. So in sum, thank you all for coming here today. We can win on this issue. We won it earlier this year. We've won it in a number of states. There is a disturbing trend, but we need all hands on deck.